Election Overview.
Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Election Overview. I'm David Bishop, and over the next several weeks, we'll be your source for all things related to the upcoming presidential and National Assembly elections, which will be held on the 27th of November 2024. As the countdown begins, we'll unpack the issues that matter most to you, the voters. Each week, we'll bring in guests from all walks of life, candidates, analysts, and stakeholders to discuss the platforms, the policies, and the promises that are shaping this year's elections. So stay with us as we kick off Election Overview, your front row seat to Namibia's trek to the polls.
Election Overview.
We're joined by Nrupesh Soni, a security assessment consultant, internet entrepreneur, and digital development strategist, to help us understand the role of artificial intelligence in political messaging. Hi Nrupesh, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me.
So start us off, how prevalent is the use of AI-generated content in local political campaigns?
Recently, since a year, you see it everywhere. You see a lot of posts that seemingly fake, generated by AI. There are photos going around, but also photos and videos from other countries, like the White House State of the Union address. There's a clip of President Joe Biden speaking about SWAPO and supporting SWAPO, and it looks extremely real.
Yeah.
And people fall for those things, and it does impact the local elections.
Okay, you're saying you see them, everywhere. How can one tell the difference between AI-generated content and sort of natural language or real content?
It's one of those things where it's extremely difficult to identify, especially for laymen like you online. You don't know how things work. You just see a photo, you assume it's real. There are people sharing photos which say it's Namibia, but you can say they're fake. So people fall for all of these things, and they always say anything that confirms to your bias. If you think, this party is corrupt, and you see something about it, you'll believe it's true without doubting it, and you tend to share that very quickly. And then when somebody does correct it, you then don't share the correction because it makes you look bad.
How good is AI getting? Because I remember in the beginning there would be like 11 fingers they'd give away. Yeah,
it's gotten really good now. Now you have whole talk shows made of AI. You have videos generated that look extremely real. Like I've seen videos of Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and they've got all 10 fingers and they're speaking perfectly with their voice and actions and everything, so you will believe it's real. Namibia is not there yet, but it's a matter of time. We had 50 elections in the world this year. Most of them complained about AI being used to impact them. So
what risks then do that AI-generated misinformation or deepfakes create for integrity and for public trust in democracy?
It impacts a lot. Look, it does disrupt the elections, if I put it that way. People who are unsure might be easily swayed by them. And recently you see there are a lot of people unsure on voting, a lot of youth who's now in the voting stage who won't know who to vote for, and they might see one or two videos and make their decisions. And that's something that can have a bigger repercussion because it was AI or fake post around it. And as we get closer to the elections now, it's 4 weeks left, 4 weeks left, a month left. You'll see a lot more of that because there won't be enough time to actually go back on that. Yeah. So you post something, there's not enough time to correct it or fact check it, and it might go viral quicker. Yeah. So it's
and there's a difference obviously between using something like ChatGPT to help you write a speech and creating a complete deepfake of someone with their voice and their image.
Absolutely. There is AI that is used for productive purposes, which a lot of companies use, media houses use it, and that's fine. It's giving you a structure. Yeah. But to use AI for generative purposes and then to use it for unethical generative purposes definitely has a very negative impact going forward, because what happens is not just this election, it goes on the Google or internet history. Okay. It goes on the archives. Yeah. So next election, people, when they search for it, these images will still come up. And how will you verify something that's 5 years old? Yeah. So we haven't even thought of it that way. A lot of this content is being used to train the current AI models. So AI thinks it's real, and it starts using it to teach itself and grow from it. So it's like what's the vicious cycle of AI?
Talking of that vicious cycle, then, and AI training itself on fake information, is there any software? Are there technologies that can help detect and help stop the spread?
It's getting worse, because how do you trained on it? So how do you now kind of bust it as a myth or a fake thing?
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to explain in a way, but you see where it's going. So let's say you have a fake article written about certain party. It's published by a lot of newspapers, so it becomes a news story. AI gets trained on it.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a fact for AI.
Yeah.
Because it happened, it was covered by newspapers, it becomes a fact. 5 years down the line, what the party didn't do becomes a fact for them, and it becomes part of their election campaign next time. Like, oh yeah, we did do it. They'll claim it. And there's no way to bust it because it was covered by some other news companies.
And a lot of it, as you mentioned earlier, it's the virality of things. That it's sort of, I see something, I post it immediately. I don't take the time to think about it. But is there a role that the social media platforms themselves can actually play in trying to sort of decrease the spread of this content?
So it comes to personal responsibility as much as the platform's responsibility, because now Facebook, Instagram, and a few other platforms have started this whole thing called Made by AI a switch. So when you post something, there's a switch there.
Oh yes, it asks.
So it asks you, and it somehow also detects it.
Okay.
Not
because I was going to say,
accurately.
If I'm posting AI for nefarious purposes, I'm not going to say, oh yes,
made by AI. So sometimes a lot of times it's detecting legal articles or photos as AI generated without alerting people. And so again, they do play a role in responsibility around it, but we also need to start marking. So again, like you said, if you're using it for purposes, unethical purposes, it's going to be, it won't be marked as AI.
How can how can voters, better educate themselves on AI and try to teach themselves how to better notice when it's AI?
There are tools, but again, people don't want to take those 2 minutes out of their time.
Yeah.
Like, because of WhatsApp, everything is so quick. I received this interesting sensationalist post. Let me share it to 10 groups before I verify it. And
there's almost the idea that the algorithm thrives on outrage, and if you see something online that creates outrage or makes you feel that feeling, that you should then especially take a step back and analyze and think.
Absolutely. If you think this is going to go viral, then maybe just make sure twice, especially if you have a few thousand followers. It's your responsibility to make sure that you post only the right content. And that is where a lot of times you see people who are, I would say, influencers or who have a big following in Namibia. If they start taking right steps and accepting mistakes and creating an awareness around it, I think it will help.
We mentioned sort of ethics and what impact, the ethical impact, let's say, of a politician deciding to not even create this, just a politician sharing something that benefits them, and it turns out that it was fake. I mean, ethically, obviously, we're sitting on shaky ground, and is there any recourse other than the court of public opinion?
Not really, and again, politicians thrive on that. Public figures thrive on that. Regardless if it's wrong or right, as long as it creates discussion around it, they want the views and likes.
Yeah.
For them to now delete the post takes away all the likes and shares.
And you can almost get away with the argument of, well, I didn't create it, I just shared it.
Yes. Example, Trump posting about Taylor Swift endorsing him.
Yeah.
He never took it down. He just left it there, created a whole discussion around it. Regardless if it was fake, AI generated. No, they didn't care. And then the followers started sharing it, started believing it, and using it in arguments. So that's, as an example, it's happening already. And this is where politicians, parties need to start taking a bit of responsibility and say, look, we want to be on the right side of history. So everything we are doing, it's here, it's the facts, this is our...
It could almost be a selling point.
It could.
And say, we refuse to use AI-generated content.
Or even endorse it, or we would like our followers to stick to the truth and the ethics around it. And it might not be the most popular, but it'll get you the right votes.
Well, I think there's definitely loads to think about when it comes to AI in the run-up to the elections now, and taking that time to just sort of sit, analyze, think about the content, think about your feelings about the content before you share. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot for having me. Thanks.
Election Overview 2024. Empowering you to make informed decisions.